Okay, thank you.
You asked.
I did.
Hi. Pardon me. Norm Thomas, 3461 Bonner Place, Victoria. Oh, sorry. I watched everyone else. I won't be long. I heard some great speakers. I don't know if it went anywhere, but I had to get up and stay late just to see the people that brought all this angst and anxiety and cost all this money on something that I think is very poorly thought through, if it was at all. And I get the suspicion, and I heard about it last spring, I guess, the only intelligent thing I've seen done so far is what the mayor tried to do late September, but I've been away for a while, so I might have missed something. But I get the impression that there's some sort of fight or expansion going on in the bureaucracy in Saanich, and you've got staff and council and everybody feels good about things. I don't know, but it's crazy. So anyway, the first thing is I disagree that Saanich exempts themselves from all the problems, because my invasive species all come from Saanich, Tommy Park. So whatever you do to this bylaw, I hope you include yourselves in the fix. And the other thing is it's about $350,000 for me, probably. So probably Saanich is going to cost themselves about $700 million or $600 million in tax base somewhere along the line. Might be a bit less, might be more. But that's an awful big hit. Just for what I gather is just for this barrier, this 15 meters plus the 10 meters and all the extra that other municipalities haven't gone for. So maybe that's all it is. I don't know. But if I had a choice, the barrier would be inside Saanich property to keep their weeds away from my fence line. That's where they come from. And it doesn't matter about the cost. You're quick enough to cost me money, well, cost yourself some money too. And that's part of the budget process, or don't get in the game and don't pass the law. It's pretty simple. Consequences, connect the dots. You're all adults. But when I come back and get in the middle of this and hear about it, I just have to laugh and wonder, you can't have in Canada, in a culture, double standard, but Saanich does that, exempts themselves. That's just wrong. Can't do it. So you're all adults, you train your kids, you teach people how to live. You got to do it yourself too. Okay?
They're looking at me, I don't know why. 44, we're really moving now. We got a 46. Anybody before? All right.
I'm actually a lot older.
Okay. You got 20 years at least. So we're at 46 now.
Yeah, my name is Art Vickerson, 1980 West Burnside. You've probably heard of that area. Excuse me a second. Got to say, I won't be as good as all the people that have spoken before me. Great job. I just hope that I can change you a little bit, maybe keep you awake a little bit tonight, thinking about all the things that people have said. I guess, I'll be quick. The question would be, how much has it cost so far since 2012 to prepare the EDPA? I like to keep a track of the money I spend. I like to know how much money you spend. And if you're going to be hiring people for the invasive species bylaw, how many people will you be hiring for that? And because I guess that's coming. Are you going to hire more people to enforce that? And I guess another question I have is regarding if we're going to hack down all these invasive species, I'm wondering, what are you going to do about the wild honeybees and butterflies? Because in my area, they depend on the Scottish broom, thistles, and the blackberry. My neighbors give blackberry jam away to their neighbors, and it's a food source, but if you want to hack it down, I guess I can't stop you. None is on my property, by the way. And I guess, will Saanich be planting any more flowers in the parks for pollination and the health of the wild honeybee and other things that need to pollinate our planet? Finally, you're going to be hiring a new CAO. I hope he has some magic, like a magical kind of magician quality about him. Maybe he can make this thing disappear.
Or she.
Mayor, councilors, hi, my name's Bob Bridgman. I live at 1481 Alito Road, and I'm one of the rare ones who came here to speak in favor of the EDPA. And I'm speaking in favor because I think we need to have it. You know, long-time residents of Saanich who know something about the environment have watched systems unravel. Now it's time to ravel them back up again. We need to do that. I've heard some pretty dreamy scenarios here, jacked up hyperbole. You might as well say someone lost 100 million because it's fantasy money anyways. No one's come out here and said that it should prove they've actually lost any money.
Again, there's disparate points of view. Let's let them say their piece.
I mean real proof. So I'm actually a little surprised to hear today that if I do a real estate deal and we sell our house for 20,000 less than market value, it's your fault. Okay, I'm surprised to hear that, but that's what the story's been. I know myself that I think that I like the EDPA. I think it's the right thing, and I'll even live with the invasive species bylaw because I can take it to places where parks are being invaded by invasive species from private property. So it's a two-way street, really. I live in a house with a significant tree on it. It's a huge tree. It takes me months to rake up the needles every year. I live with it. I remember when the tree bylaw came in and people said, you know, this is the end of the world. We're going to lose our house. We'll lose thousands of dollars because no one will buy this house with a big tree on it. But in fact, that hasn't borne out at all. I think that if you give this time, I think that people will learn to realize that to live on a property with native species on it, trees, it's actually worth more money, not less. So give it some time. Don't be bullied by a couple hundred people. You know,
I think you got to be careful. Everybody's got a legitimate point of view, and I don't know about bullies from this. This is a chance to express points of view.
We live in a municipality where there's roughly 66,000 people. We haven't heard from 66,000 people here. So obviously some people are having trouble with it. I think if anything failed here, it's not the EDPA, it's a communication strategy, because definitely you have not got the message across. I've heard so many half-truths here, it's unbelievable. So people are getting all fired up on what's not true. So you need to work there, I'd say. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Your Honor and councillors, my name's Bob McQueen. I live on 10 Mile Point and property that's affected. And I also own a piece of property in Cadbury Bay on the beach that is also in the EDPA. I just have two suggestions I would like to make to you. One is that you give very careful consideration to the work that's been done by Anita Bull and her committee, including the recommendations in there. I mean, I don't pretend to be able to raise with you specific concerns, but they've raised them. They've done more research on this than many people have. The second thing I would ask you to do is that you find out how the other municipalities here in this region and in the province have introduced the sort of bylaws to protect the environment. And I suggest that that review be done not by your staff, but by you. Given the sorts of concerns that have been raised here about the actions of some of your environmental staff. Finally, thank you very much for the opportunity.
I think we might have hit 50. it might be a good idea for everybody who's waiting to stand up so we can get a bit of a read on how much we have left, because there is a possibility, being optimistic, that we might get through this by 11. We'll see.
Thanks. James Miskelly, Durance Road. I want to say to those of you in front of me who were involved in the crafting and the passage of this bylaw that I've lived in Saanich for 19 years, and that's plenty long enough. You see, every year the houses are a little bit bigger, the lots are more finely subdivided, the residential areas that surround the parks are denser, closer in, reducing the effective size of those protected areas for the species that depend upon them. And so, to those of you who are involved in the crafting and the passage of this bylaw, I really want to applaud you for the stand that you've taken against the progressive erosion of natural values in Saanich. And you're all aware that there has been an election since this bylaw was passed. And so I hope that you see your re-election as an endorsement of that stand. Now that I've said that, I'll speak more specifically about some of the aspects of this bylaw that I think could be improved. Number one, reference to provincial mapping standards should come out. Nobody uses the provincial mapping standards. There are people who want to use them, there are even people who claim to use them, but nobody actually uses them. They can't actually be used unless it's springtime and the site hasn't been mowed. They come down to the ratio between native and non-native species. If you're asked to do this work at a time of year that you can't see the native species, then there's no way that you can apply the provincial standard. So Saanich needs to follow the same lead that many other agencies and jurisdictions have taken, and define your own standard of what it is that you're trying to protect, and make it, I guess, reasonably clear and quantitative. And so I really hope that there's a chance to go through that kind of an exercise over this winter so that you can have a new approach in place for the springtime, and then Saanich could lead a real comprehensive ground truthing campaign to identify where these areas are that legitimately deserve protection. I do think that some of the areas that are presently included were mapped in error, and that if it's a genuine error, then there needs to be a simpler way for people to be withdrawn from the bylaw. But you need to demand quite a high standard of information to determine that. And, you know, just visiting a site for an hour in October when nothing can be seen anyway, that really doesn't tell you anything. What else? I'm in favor of Saanich setting a better example as far as management of Saanich's own properties and parks. Yes, I agree with that. I also agree that there could be some sort of incentive program to encourage and reward good stewardship, but that incentive program has to be in parallel with a program of restrictions. There's no, voluntary stewardship action is what's taken us this far, right? Voluntary stewardship action is all we had until 2012. It was not effective. So incentives, yes, but keep the restrictions. And as far as the economic analysis, the economic analysis is impossible mathematics, because on one side is infinite. The loss of biodiversity is priceless, irreplaceable. You can't put a dollar value on that. It outweighs anything else. Thank you.
Low 50s?
53.
53, anybody? Okay, I think we're up there. If anyone else is close to 53, feel free to come up forward and get ready for this.
Mayor and Council, my name is Ivo Zanata. I live at 3871 High Street, my family and I, and our property is in the EPDA. We have 2 acres on Knockin Hill Park next to it, and almost half of it is in the EPDA, our house, our deck, our driveway. I found out about this in the newspaper earlier this year in May. I went to the town meeting, or the meeting that you had at the Commonwealth Pool. And then I went to the council meeting, and I was really disappointed what I saw at the council meeting. I've never been involved a lot in municipal politics, but I'm going to now. And I voted for most everybody here except for the mayor. And so, yeah, it was really disappointing. And I think that this bylaw has to be repealed. And if it's not repealed, I'm going to try to get our property removed. I look after that property. I've made it what it is. This bylaw and the way it was enacted by the staff, it shows disrespect for private property and private property rights. If you're going to do an EPDA, you've got to make it voluntary. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Council, my name is Sheila Haynes. I live at 5397 Parker Avenue. I live on the water. I bought my home in 1987, so I've been there for 28 years. I am not wealthy. I work 2 jobs. This is our nest egg. This is something that was put there to keep us safe and cared for. It was even purchased for that reason. We are level entry, essentially. Every room can be used with wheelchairs. Anything that we have done has been with grab bars, etc., to be able to stay in our home, which I hope will be more than 20 years. We have tried everything we can to reduce watering. We put rocks in. We do not have a lawn that has to be mowed. Garden-wise, we have 4 boxes. Garlic in them, 2 of them, herbs in the other. There is no sensitive ecosystem on my property. We remove things like the Daphne Lorelei, etc. Trees-wise, we have 1 cedar, which is a lovely one. We have a lovely conifer, and then 1 Atlanticus glaucus, which is certainly not a local plant. I don't want to plant anymore. We can't take the chance that we will have our property devalued for what is to look after us in the future. I also don't understand that the number 66,000 people was mentioned just of recent. Why is this small group being, by and large, penalized? Why isn't everybody? Why isn't every property have to adhere to these things? Why should only a small band of people, and I literally mean that, is a band, that on one side of the road you have to adhere to the EDPA, and the other, do what you doggone well want. I wish to be removed from the EDPA. I believe in these things. I believe in looking after nature. I pick up bugs, snakes, and everything else on the road and bring it down to the front of our property where it won't be squished on the road. And so thank you very much. I appreciate the time you have given us, but it does have to be changed. Thank you.
We have about an hour left if we need it. If you would oblige me, those of you who have a ticket, who haven't yet spoken, are still waiting, would you mind standing up just to get a sense of this? I think that's looking pretty good. Who knows, but we've got a good hour if it takes that. So we're sort of in the mid-50s, maybe even closer to 60. It's hard to know because a lot of the numbers have come and went. So it's kind of going to be a bit self-managing. So somebody's got to 54, 55, 56, 55. I think that's our next. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, and concerned residents of Saanich. I don't have a lot to say other than, a crude way to put it, we were probably the guinea pig on this when it started. I live at 680 Brookley Road on a couple of acres. Very much an environmental person, very much nature, natural, farm type person. We had our third proposal into Saanich from the planning department. And when we put it in, we had had good affirmation from a lot of the councillors. So the head of the planning department said, this was in December 2011, we'll get the old one out, dust it off, and we should get it back to you in January. So January come, February come, March come. By this time I'm emailing, and by the way, I own this property along with my brother and sister. It was bought in 1945. We were raised there. And I guess some of you know it's the farm that was on Mount Douglas Crossroad. So emails are sparse at getting answered from the planning department. They're getting answered, but they aren't saying much. So about May, we get one back and it says, gee, things are not looking so good. New policies are coming now. The new policy was, I take it that they put our proposal on the shelf because it didn't come out in January, and they passed the EDPA law. So we were told we could reduce the subdivision and get it done by certain people in Saanich. 2 days later, we get a call from the planning department, you can't do that. You have to do your EDPA, even though we're in stream. So we had a meeting with the head of the planning department and the biologist, and we said, well, how long is this going to take to do it? Oh, 2 or 3 weeks. How much is it going to cost us? $2,500. So we said, yeah, let's go ahead and get it done. It ended up taking, I don't know, five, maybe 6 months, and $15,000. So a little bit out on the budget figures. And that's about all I have to say about it. It was very roughshod and done, and the public were certainly not advised of what was coming down the street. And I sometimes wonder to this day, if it wasn't for a great friend of mine now, we'd probably still be trying to get this through. Thank you.
Seven. You know where this is going. 58. 59. 60.
'Mr. Mayor, Council, everyone else. I'm not going to be one of the popular ones here. My name is Robert McGrath. I live in the Christmas Hill area. Just like to say that we are in support of the principle of the EDPA. We don't like the idea of Saanich ending up looking like Scarborough. And I can understand the need for bringing in something of the EDPA because the ecosystems in this and where we live are just disappearing too quickly, and something needs to be done just to save what's left and develop. Unbridled development is going to take everything away, and we do have to leave something for the generations coming on after us. My observations from what I've seen of what I've heard today is that where Saanich fell down very, very badly was on the rollout of this thing, and any sort of public information I think could have. I can't see how it had been carried out worse And I really think that if the EDPA is going to carry on forward, that there must be some revision to it. And just as people here have been saying, how you're mainly depending on the aerial photographs, and there seems to have been absolutely nothing done as to going to the actual properties affected, seeing for themselves whether or not these things should actually be included in the area. And these demands for surveys to be done, I would think if Saanich is going to demand that property owners have a survey done, then it should be up to Saanich to foot the bill for these things. And also, I think that Saanich should either maintain a list or retain qualified personnel with an established criteria, so that when a property owner has someone come on board, come into their property to do a survey, to do an inspection, they know what the criteria is, they know what the person's qualifications are, and there is going to be a report going to Saanich Council, to the planning departments, and also back to the property owner themselves, so that everybody is on the same page and knows what's going on. And also, I think if revenue laws could be proven, then it should be up to Saanich to compensate property owners, which I guess means, even though I'm not in the EDPA, that would mean my taxes would be going up, and yes, I'll be affected too. So, and I think one of the things that is very important for Saanich itself, that if it's going to be imposing these kinds of restrictions and these kinds of penalties upon people, they should be leading by example, something very rare in this world these days, and taking better care of their own property, especially since a lot of it seems to be affecting the people involved in the EDPA, since a lot of their invasive species seem to be coming from our properties. And I guess that's about all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Number 61. Anybody 62, or I think we're 63? Okay.
Hi everyone, my name is Catherine Dubois. I live at 3528 Richmond Road. I've never actually heard my voice over a microphone before. Sounds pretty good. This is my personal opinion. I first became aware of the EDPA and ESA with a note in my mailbox in April 2013, looking for permission for the Saanich's environmental consultant to enter our premises the week of April 22nd, 2013. I had never heard of the EDPA or the ESA, but after researching them online, I was on high alert, as I am a former real estate appraiser and well aware of the negative impact on property value that would result from such obvious restrictions outlined in the EDPA. I queried district staff as to the EDPA and ESA programs, and in no uncertain terms expressed my concern for our property values. In response to my query of potential compensation should our property be placed in an EDPA or ESA area, an excerpt from district staff's email to me on April 19, 2013 is as follows. In terms of potential compensation, you would be able to speak to BC Assessment Authority to reevaluate your property value, and Saanich would provide them any information they required to make their assessment. I responded, as for potential compensation, you say that we could have our BC Assessment, or I assume a BC professional appraiser, reevaluate our property value, but does that mean that Saanich would then compensate us for the difference/loss in value? To which the staff member replied, in terms of having your property assessed, no, Saanich would not compensate you if the property value went down. The only compensation would be a decrease in taxation, I believe. And then she indicated this is not her area of expertise. My property was not placed in the EDPA. My property is still not in the EDPA, but it has been identified as an ESA despite myself and my neighbors disallowing access to our backyards. If the city's environmental consultant had gained access to our yards, she would have found little else other than invasive English ivy and Himalayan blackberry. There is no sensitive ecosystem in our yards. None. It has now come to light that our properties were to be brought forward to Mayor Council for adoption into the EDPA EDPA this year. My question to you is, why were we not notified? District staff has known of my concerns since April 2013, yet I've had nothing in my mailbox since then indicating that this is going to go ahead. The EDPA, as it's currently being implemented, in my opinion, is a form of expropriation. The process of expropriation occurs when a public agency, such as yourselves, takes private property for a purpose deemed to be of the public interest. The EDPA is expropriation. It's expropriation without due compensation. So my property, again, is not in the EDPA, but that does not mean that I am not outraged at the obvious expropriation by Saanich on a slight group of properties in our region. That does not mean that I am not outraged that district staff are aware of the negative impact on property value as a result, yet continue to propagate these unreasonable expectations unabashed. Thanks for your time, and I look forward to some responsible, reasonable alterations to the EDPA as a result of